Hello and welcome back to Awakened Entrepreneur Revolution. And today is a topic, as we do before each of these podcasts we record, we just kind of come together and breathe into what's going on and what are we feeling and it this happens a lot, you guys. It ended up that we're both feeling a very similar push right now. And that is around really stepping in fully into your calling and into your genius zone and really expanding. Because, what I've always heard since I started my business, so I've always been aware of this, and maybe Judith, you have too. Like, your genius zone is so obvious and so easy that you don't even realize it's a genius zone. And so sometimes we take even these big things for other people because it seems so minute to us that we forget, right? Or we don't even notice that what if you really dug into is exactly how you are going to serve in your business, right? And so today we're going to really explore what that looks like when maybe you stop playing so small and you start playing really in the space that you were meant to be in fully, fully, fully. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Judith, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for leading us in, Jenna. Hello, everyone tuning in. This is really about leveling up big time because the energy in this year, 2024, and like the past 2 to 3 months is all about this, bringing you and all of us to the core of who we are and into our greatness, into our genius, into our purpose at next levels. Because I'm sure most of you who are listening are not at step 1 of your journey. You might have figured out overall, oh, this is an area where I'm good at. This is an area that has focus for me, where I thrive. But the time right now is calling all of us to dive deeper and to dig deeper and to shed more skin. And this is what Jenna said, stop playing small, right? There's always a next level that we can get to. And maybe you are already seeing that in your businesses, right? Maybe it is plateauing. Maybe you feel like you're somehow losing connection to it. And this is not like you're hating it or something, but you just sense that it is different than it used to be maybe 6 months ago, okay? And that is, even though logically you're understanding how you're leading this, logically you're understanding how you are running your business online, and yet there's an element that feels off in a way, but maybe you cannot really put your finger on it. And we want to dive deeper today into this because we're both experiencing, again, a calling like this as well, which makes total sense because the energy is just like that. And I'll dive a bit deeper into this in a few seconds. I want to hand it over to Jana to keep going from her perspective a little bit and share what she's experiencing, what she can share with you.
Oh, sorry. For a minute, the screen went blank. I'm like, I think we lost everybody and everything, but we're back. Yes. So, I just want to explain where it's from my perspective, as Judith was saying, what this is looking like for me. Because, so much of this talk, it's the 5D energy and the expanding and all of that. And while many of us, we understand it, right, to a degree, but it sometimes feels a little bit intangible. And what I'm experiencing as a sales coach is, I came in as a sales coach and doing a lot of the sales pieces. But what I noticed was a lot of people wanted more of the whole thing, right? And not, they thought maybe, oh, I don't know if I need sales, or if I had better marketing, I would have sales. And I have to be completely honest. Even though a lot of what I teach is still through that sales lens, but there were a lot of times that I found myself teaching pieces that weren't like where I'm in my full power, right? I can teach them because I know them, but I came here to be the piece of the puzzle that helps you become more confident from the inside out in your sales conversations, and how you show up and how you connect with yourself and others in order to grow your business and get more clients, right? Like, that's really the piece. And I see it a lot in the online space. There, a lot of people try to kind of be the jack of all trades, right? Like who wants what and where, where's the money, and I'll just come over here and there. And even though I was saying, oh yeah, but I'm still focused on this piece, like there's a next level of that where it's even small. It's almost like I'm teasing it out even more, if that makes sense. So that
Can
it's
you,
not
I love,
even.
I need to
But
ask a question in there right away because I'm so curious. I love how you describe the revelation that you got from it, right? And that when the way you understood, oh, this is what it's telling me. Okay, cool. Can you share for the people listening? Because I think that is a question. People are like, how did you notice? How did it show up for you that it got you reflecting or noticing it and then coming to that, this is what it means actually?
well, the biggest indicator for me is when I'm not in my joy around doing something. Like when it feels heavy, when it feels like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
And we find ourselves because there's so much momentum and you've got people you're serving and you're doing and you're going. And then you kind of, especially when you cultivate that level of awareness, you have these moments where you're almost, you're really watching yourself and you're like, this is not where we want to be. This was not the plan, so to speak, right? So, and
What do
it's
you
not
do?
just,
What do you see? What do you see when you take that meta level and you look at yourself and you're like, oh, this is not where I want it to be? What is it? Is it physical things, or is that emotions, or is that you look at reality, or like what is it that makes you notice?
that's a really good question. I would say it's a little bit of all of it for me. It's noticing the emotions that I'm feeling. It's me energetically not feeling like fully in my power when I'm speaking about certain things, right? And when I'm looking at it, even from that sort of out of body place, it just looks like it's small me. It feels like more of the smaller part of me trying to do all the things, right? Like doing all the stuff, but not like fully embodying that bigger version of me, and maybe it wasn't available to me a year ago. Like, I think we have to go through what we have to go through, but we also have to answer the call and note. Our job is to notice, and whatever way it shows up. For me, like I said, it can be emotional. It can just feel like a disempowering energy, but to notice and go, okay, there's more here.
Can
It
you
kind of
grasp
actually
the
reminds me,
difference?
Judith.
Yeah,
But
you keep going, keep saying. Sorry,
I
I
was
hold the
just going to
question.
say, what I likened it to is how I felt way back when I started meditating too. Like there was a voice or a knowing, an invitation energetically that was like, there's more for you. You're not just going to do sales forever working for somebody else. Like you know, unfortunately, maybe some people have it a little better than I do. That's about it. It's not like, and here's your business plan. It's just enough to know that it's time to expand. And I don't know, I'd love to hear your take on this, Judith, but I don't know that for me, it's not like, and this is exactly what it's going to look like. But what it is that I have to take that first step. And I'll tell this and then I'll stop. Each time I expand and allow, all of a sudden, just crazy things start to get in motion. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I just had that conversation. Oh, I can't believe I met this person. Look at how this is all kind of, and then as long as I stay open, it's just one step, and then the next synchronicity, and then the next. But as soon as I close back up and go, okay, I got it. Now let me go do my thing. Oh, it's like it drops. And so I
Yeah,
have to learn to keep open. And it really goes against all logical thought. In many ways, I'm very logical. And as much as I love my inner work and my inner world, I do fall into that. I tend to fall into that trap. I have a lot of masculine energy. And so anyway, That's kind of what it felt like. And so hopefully that answers your question, but I'd love to hear your take.
I actually want to set another question on that because it's not the question that came to mind. You can answer whatever you want, because the question that came up for me is fully understand what you're saying. I feel the audience, people are listening, you guys get what Jenna explained and was a great explanation of that. The question for me that came up was, how do you know the difference? When you tune in, you take the meta level, you observe, you see or you feel the emotions, you see maybe have something physical going on, you get all these kind of breadcrumbs. You
Oh my goodness. I think we lost Judith. I'm so sorry, everybody. So I'm going to answer what I think was her question and see if she comes back on. And if not, we may just have to wrap. Y'all know I can talk for a while, but how do I know I think what her question and where she was going with this is, with those energetic patterns and let me just tune back into what she was saying. Oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to finish recording this. We're just going to have to take this out. Okay, cool.
I think we completely crashed out. I'm just going to cut that out, which is fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, the stream is still going, and I started to kind of fill in for a minute, hoping you would come back. But I would say just cut it.
You.
Yeah, cut it, because I started talking, and then I really realized I didn't understand your question yet because you hadn't gotten there, and I was like, I don't want to speculate. So go ahead. Okay. So we apologize. We just dropped. You know why? Because some of us are traveling and we're in very exotic places, and this is the beauty of what we do, right? We get to do these things. So sometimes we have to navigate the challenges of being in gorgeous remote locations. So Judith, please continue with your observation and your question.
Right. The question that popped up for me was, when you're observing yourself and you're noticing all these things, whether it's physical stuff, your emotions, right? You're catching these things, you're looking at reality and all of that. How do you differentiate between, oh, this is now the impulses and the breadcrumbs and all of the signs that I get that really lead me to the direction of, okay, I'm playing small, I'm invited to go bigger, versus the signs that tell you, oh, maybe I need a break, maybe, how do you see what the message is that guides and leads you to the up leveling versus all of the other things that we're being guided to?
Such a good question. And I don't know that I have the perfect scenario answer, because my pendulum certainly swings, right? And sometimes I catch myself by surprise. But here's what I will say. When I'm my best spiritual self, right? And I'm doing the daily things that connect me and ground me, and I don't sacrifice that because I got to go, I got to get this thing. And I will fall into that, and I'll definitely, I'll have time to meditate later or whatever it is. But if I don't stay full of my soul, if I don't fill myself up each day, sometimes it takes longer than others. Each day, I'm really good at tricking myself into thinking that I'm doing the right thing or that I'm going in the right direction. So that's the only pattern I can tell you for certain. And the other thing I will say around taking a break is, typically when I am fully in that state and I'm fully taking action from that state and I'm feeling that level of empowerment, being a generator, I don't feel like I have to have a break. When I start to feel like I have to have a break, it's because I'm far too often the physical trying to make all the things happen and do all the heavy lifting. So that would be what I would notice. And again, I will be the first to admit I will trick my own self at, well, no, not today. Today it is about the physical. I got to get the things, and I will fall into that place. And what seems to happen when that happens for me is the more I play in that energy, the more I end up playing in that energy. And the more I can pull myself back, the more, grounding and connecting, all those things, which I guess seems sort of like, duh, but I'm just going to keep it real. And I don't know why other spiritual people don't talk about this. Maybe I'm the only one, but it's a practice for me. It is a no, don't give into the fear of taking action. You have the time, do what you need to do to be, fully you right now first. Right. And some months and years and days are better. And some I fool myself. Does that help? I know I'm supposed to be like giving advice, but
there is no right or wrong answer to that, right? There's no right or wrong answer to that, because we will have our own versions of experiencing that. And I just asked the question, A, I was curious myself, but B, because I feel the more we open up about how we are experiencing that individually, other people can find their own version for themselves, rather than just saying what it is, but by opening up about how we're getting there, how we're receiving it, how we're processing it. It just opens it up. Well, there's no right or wrong, right? But just sharing more about it. And I will share about that as well, because for two reasons I love this topic. Because one is, it is 100% exactly the core of the work that I do, to help and support people in exactly these journeys. It is always, when people come to me, they're always stuck somewhere in their business, whatever that is. Either they're plateauing, or they're roller coasting, or they feel disconnected from the business, whatever it is. The reason is always that they are playing too small at the level where they are at. And what they need to do is bring themselves into that next level version of themselves, whatever that looks like to them. As soon as we flip, I always have that picture of, if your life and your business was a box, it obviously has the walls and the sides, right? Maybe even the roof on it closed. Sometimes the roof is already open and they can see there's more up there, but then they don't get to move there because there's still the walls of the box. What we then do through the work is flip down the walls, so everything opens up. Like in a video game, you enter that next area level, opens up, you get to explore the next country or whatever that is. And once this happens, everything in the business is starting to just magically fall in place. And that is also that I love her. I had her as a client last year in fall, like October-ish, September-ish. And now that's exactly what we did for her. And now a few months later, she stepped so much into her higher level energy. She's almost daily texting me. It's like, oh my goodness, another dream client just found me. I have no idea how. Cold, right? Oh, and they just said, usually I have 2 calls with them, and it's my process in sales. And in the first call, after 10 minutes, she's like, here, sweet, here's my money. And I was overwhelmed. She was like, oh my goodness, I was overwhelmed a little bit if I could just do that, or if I need to stick to my second call process. That is how fast that is. And this is why I love diving a bit deeper, and I'm sharing how that shows up for me, right? This is the other reason why I love this topic, because it gets in the time that we are in right now, 2024. It's not 2022 again, or like before. We get to dive deeper, and we get to be thinner and finer, I would say, like way more specific, way more drilled down, if you want, way more carefully looking, to not oversee. And I don't mean that from a scarcity point of view. I mean that really from let me go into a more refined version, maybe, of looking into what am I perceiving. Because as we are all moving into higher frequency state, because the earth is moving there, right? There's the vibration, the frequencies are at higher levels. They're not only faster, but they're at higher levels. and everything gets thinner, less weight, less heavy. The lower density parts where there's more matter, right? If you have that picture in mind, you can break that down into how we perceive ourselves and how we get the reflection of what's happening within in our outer reality. And the more we train ourselves to really see beyond the in between the lines, if you want the in between of the in between the lines, this is where we want to go to really finely granulate it, see what's going on, because that makes it easier to identify, oh, is this now, in our example, calling me into getting away from the smaller level I am at right now and then opening up more into my power, into my genius? Or is there a different message in there for me? And this is beyond, like way beyond the, I put in vertical commas, the just seeing, oh, it's that kind of an emotion and that wants me to do this. Oh, that's kind of a physical reaction I'm perceiving, and that leads me into, okay, I need to rest a bit more, or I should stop and then have a look at where I am at, take a step back, right? This is the less fine granulated version that we used to walk through in the last years. And now we're invited from, because we have already risen all to a higher level compared to 2 or 3 years ago. Now we get to go deeper, because also what we're receiving when I'm channeling light language. I just did that yesterday for a client at the end of the session. She was in an emotional release connected to an identity shift. While she was in that process, I got a message channeled through her on light language. And it was individualized for her. And that is all in higher vibrating and thinner and finer frequencies. And in order to let them in our system so that they can land, and the brain won't understand, right? It doesn't have to. It is all outside of the brain's capacity. We just need it then when we're going back to implementation, which is fine. But in order to understand the direction where we're going, and I personally am in a space like that at the moment as well, which is really interesting. So I can share how I am perceiving that to give you a bit of an example of what it can look like. For you, it may be different. So for example, for me, I'm having a very, how can I say that, a very specific capturing of micro moment. It really goes into realizing and seeing the examples in my outer reality that are micro things. That is, it can go down as to, I'm seeing like a tiny mini butterfly, and it can be a centimeter big. That is even tangible because it's an animal, right? But I'm scanning, and I'm not from scarcity searching, but out of awareness, sensing and looking for these really tiny things, even sensations in my body. My typical go-to reaction of my body when I'm growing, the resistance pattern, is anxiety. So my body will usually go into huge tension, pressure, anxiety, and go back into the freeze mode in survival. That is what was the old programming. And for example, how I realized something had changed recently, I overcame the battle, I want to say, with cold, but wind was still an issue. I couldn't really control in a positive way when there was wind that my body still perceived as cold. My body would instantly, in a millisecond, go completely into freeze. And here now, in Portugal, where I am, obviously it's a bit windy because we're by the ocean. Yesterday was a stormy day, and I was outside without a jacket in temperatures that allowed it, but it was temperatures that even a year ago, in the same wind, I went into a full freeze. And I couldn't, it took me 20 minutes to get out of that, working my way back in the nervous system and all of that to go back into relaxation so that my body could understand I'm safe. Yesterday, no reaction happened at all. No reaction. And I stayed outside probably 20 minutes. And it's these small nuances, let's say, where I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm not reacting at all anymore. What else is coming? And then I'm not going into chasing, searching mode, but I'm keeping the awareness open into, okay, I'm not freezing anymore. That means there's a lesser part within that is programmed into survival. Aha, interesting. Okay, so then looking back at the business, what else is going on? Where do I feel I want to go? Do I feel the alignment? You know, I'm allowing to have an open focus on the vibration of the things that I'm doing and that I'm targeting at the moment. And I'm allowing to, like as if you were swimming, you know, take another wave towards it, see what it's like, if it pulls me further in, I'll take another swim towards it. If nothing is happening, I'm allowing to be pulled back a bit by the wave, but I'm still staying there. I'm holding the connection, right? And I'm fine-tuning all of these tiny little things without falling back into the pattern that was connected to the anxiety, which was chasing. Grabbing, trying to grab it, trying to, but I need to, but I have to, but I, that in former times then took me into hustling, right? All the shoulds, but I have to, but I should be posting more, reaching out to people in DMs, but I should go live, but I should send another email, but I should. I'm really going finer into what am I seeing and what are the messages that I'm receiving. One other thing I want to share, because that leads into the money thing. I'm closely looking, and that is interesting to me at the moment. I feel like I am, with regards to my business, at another pivot moment. It might not be as big as 1.5 years ago, but there is definitely something going on, and money has something to do with that. While it has two directions where it's pulling at the moment, and my brain doesn't understand yet, and I'm just curiously watching where it is developing into. One is I'm pretty much seeing huge and higher levels of delivery packages, a complete different audience, but delivering on my genius, which is always bringing people into their power at a higher level, connected to their purpose, and then how they express that, how they serve and deliver on a higher level, but believing and trusting in themselves at that higher level. So if that is my genius, then this is also my highest shadow when I myself go through that, right? Your biggest genius is always your highest, biggest shadow, also at the same time. So it's very interesting. And with regards to money, at the moment, I see that it's pulling me highly to these things. And I'm talking like, if that turns into reality, that'd be like $1 million projects, right? So this is also landing with me. I did not Google, I did not write it down. Somehow these things are, they're a bit far away at the moment, but I can see them somewhere in my energetic field. Not right here, right now, but something is coming that way. While at the same time, one thing I tried to sell a lot over the last weeks has no resonance at all. While the last time I did it, it was flying. And I'm doing the same thing. But there's a very good example. When I did it the last time, was like 3 or 4 months ago, I was in a different vibration. So probably, that is not meant to be this way. But I'm also observing that. And at the same time, 1 million tiny things are coming to me with regards to money, or the equivalent of money, if you want. You have no idea how many things I've been gifted while I've been in Portugal, from the bus driver who's like, oh, you don't have to pay, that's fine. Oh, somebody's like, oh, your coffee's already been paid for. Oh, you got a room upgrade in the next place you come in, 1 million things of these. Or other, like a tax return. I got a tax payment back I did not expect at all. A couple €100. There's 1 million things like this are happening. And if I look at that, it just is like I'm being provided all that I need and more, while I can fully immerse into that next thing that is coming. And that is teaching me again and again and again my own biggest shadow around the trusting that it's safe to be in this higher next level, right? So maybe that gave you a little bit of an idea how to look at things and from which perspective, and how to not freak out if there's different things going on in parallel, which might not seem like they're connected at all, right? So I could freak and say, like, oh my goodness, the current idea of the business thing that I'm selling right now is not working at all. I could over strategize. I could be like, oh my goodness, I need to level up the DM game. I need to, I need to all of these things. No, I don't. Then I could cut off the dream or the thing, the big thing that wants to come, the bigger vision of like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous because it is so unrealistic and no way this is going to be here, or maybe it's not meant now. If I focus on this one now, it just distracts me. No. Then the smaller, coming maybe would be like, oh, why isn't there coming more? Why is it just small things? Why isn't there coming like a 10K sale again? Like that. No. It gets to be all of that, and then we can move in it. And this is the beauty of the time that we're in right now, when we're talking stepping into your genius. And also it is faster than ever before when we learn to ride these waves of chaos, and when we learn to ride and allow to be with all of that. That was a bit long to take.
Well, what I'm hearing, and it's the same thing I'm experiencing, is don't give into the fear. You're being called to step into even more of the unknown, right? And, back to the question you asked before around like, how do you know that that's what's happening? You have to maintain that connect. It has to take first priority. The moment you give in, and like I admittingly have done, and really sometimes better than others, right? To all the things and the stuff and everything we've been programmed, when that call is saying expand, stay open, allow, expand, stay open, allow, trust, surrender, all of these passive things. And it's like, but how does, in the brain's over here, like freaking out. But every time I've ever done this in my business, when I've been up leveling and connected and surrendering and staying open and allowing, that's where the magic happens. As soon as I'm getting like a visual of something, but it's just like, it just sort of like, no, I'm going to go back. I got to go do the thing, and it's like, that just drops that channel and cuts. It's not forever. Like you can easily get it back, like by going back into it, but it's quite a journey. And it seems like we're both in a very similar spot in just stay open, allow, because the stuff in the field, I'm feeling a lot of that too, like just big, really big. And so it's almost like not only are you needing to stay open, like you got to expand to hold what's coming. Expand.
Yeah, and the funniest thing to expand to exactly go there, why do we need to expand? Not for the sake of bigger, but you need to expand for the sake of being able to hold what's coming. And the way is, how do you do that? Not by looking externally. You expand by connecting deeper inside and integrating at a next level. And it's the last thing I want to say about this process that is currently going on and that I'm going through at the moment as well. Diving deeper into oneness, the sacred unity within, and how I'm perceiving it at the moment, and energetically that is in the field, it is a deeper level of integration of our male energies. It accounts for both men and women. Your male energetic part is coming up at the moment. Again, the hurt parts, whatever layer there still is that is not fully integrated, that wants to be integrated for the female part to feel safe at a next level, because then she can step again fully into her creativity. And they have merged already at some kind, because we've all gone through a lot of the ascension work. But now, again, I said before we recorded, like a sieve, right, where you have sand and you rock it, and the finer things, they will fall through. This is what if we're filtering out, what will stay on top that you're not gonna take with you on the next journey or on the further journey. That is the lower density parts, and that can be then old emotional patterns, old identity patterns. Even your body physically, again, like DNA level, is going through that again, right? So this is why your body might be feeling tired, or you might feel pain or any kind of sensation in your body at the moment. Also, emotionally, it can manifest in one way or the other while the whole process is going on of the next level integration of that hurt male. And I had something this morning when I sat at the beach before I ran into the ocean. I had one version I had never seen, and this a bit, when I was in these abusive situations when I was very little. Back then, the female part had split off to survive. I was fighting for my life, all of these things. Obviously, turned out I'm still here. I went through all of that healing, the reintegration of the feminine, but which the aspect I had never seen that showed itself this morning, which was beautiful, was the 4-5-year-old version of me then, the male part. I had always had to focus on the female part, because obviously as being a woman, that was affected a lot more. But the male part of me back then had still stood there, and that was the pain I couldn't integrate over the last weeks. I couldn't grasp what it was. But then it showed itself this morning. It was the 4-5-year-old male energetic version of me who was deeply in pain about I couldn't save her. It makes me emotional again. I couldn't save her. Yeah. But then he did, because he could only see the energetic imprint of the split up version of the feminine of mine, who in a way had died. And that was the only perspective he could have at that moment. He's like, fuck, I lost her. I couldn't save her.
You're making me emotional.
And that is, by allowing that version to see the truth that I'm alive, that we saved ourselves, that we made it. And then that little boy grew up into the man. And that's how the integration shows, right? And I could feel it physically as well. And that's maybe a good example of what is happening at the moment in your version, right? However it shows up for you. And this is what gets you into more power, in owning yourself at a next level, and then being able to hold more space and capacity for the bigger things that are coming. So I hope that made sense.
That's so beautiful. And I want to add one last thing as we wrap up here around that's just coming through for me on this. When we talk about bigger, and, everybody probably knows Simon Sinek, right? And his work or whatever. When I think of this bigger place that we're moving towards, it's a simple, right? Like I was saying before, how we refine. Like he has an entire, probably billion, who knows how, a multi-million-dollar business, gosh, whatever, off of one key concept around your why. And so what I've learned and continue to learn is think about all the things we do. Like I got to go help them with this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to share with them this. And, and that's our genius zone is as simple as start with that why. Like, what is your start with your why, right? And so getting closer to that, because that's your center, right? And so the busyness of trying to do all the things for somebody, whether it's in your coaching or even in your healing, and just, what is my piece of this whole pie, right? What is that piece that I am really called to do? And it feels scary because as we expand to hold more of this, it feels so much smaller, right? Because you could get on and, well, can you help me with this? And can you help me? And I'm going to think, you're thinking, I can, but that's not where I'm meant to help. So how can we, instead of, yeah, of course, I'll do that. Yeah, sure. And hold that line of that simplicity of the one big thing that you do that makes, all of who you are in terms of, energetically how you want to serve, not all of who you are, but, so to say that, because, in the old way of thinking is I got to be bigger. That means I got to do more. I got to hold more. I got to be more. And it's really about coming really home and being honest about your piece and of the pie, not piece. That's nice too. But, and that can feel scary. That is something that feels a little scary to me, because it's like, but who all's going to need just that? And we all work together on this. It's all that unity. And I feel like this maybe, all right, I'm rambling, but this is the last thing I'm going to say. It's almost even more of that unity. Like the more we really stay in our lane, that more of that unity can come together, because we're not trying to do all these different pieces of the pie that really is meant for other people. And we get to do our specialty. And so, what, back to Simon, what is that simple thing that only that you do so well, so naturally, so beautifully? And it's what you're already doing, but I bet you can even narrow it down more to just
And I love that you're bringing in Simon Sinek. Last thing I want to say, because I love his work, but there's one thing I wildly disagree, because he always says you can't determine how long it takes to get to your purpose. And I wildly disagree, because that is what I'm doing with people in my Soul to Say process. It takes 3 hours. Then you got that nailed down in the process that I'm walking you through 100%. How that is in your business. So if that feels too like,
I want to be clear on that too. I'm not saying I'm a huge, like, he's wonderful and everything. I'm just mean as a concept of what he's been able to build off of this piece that he contributed, right? And it's
100%.
so simple. And it's
Yeah,
he had to have a lot of power and a lot of surrender to let it be that simple. Like, to get on these stages and say something that a lot of us already kind of really know, but it became so profound because his message didn't get lost, because he didn't try to cover all the things. And maybe I'm saying this for me, but I just wanted to say that as we wrap, because the more, it's the whole KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And so anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. As always, our intention is to just really have this conversation, because we are in uncharted territory. And for a lot of us, including us, we want to make sure that we shed light on where our experience is and what we're feeling. Because for me, I know that when I can hear it from somebody else, it helps me so much to integrate what I'm feeling, because we are all one. And so anyways, thanks again. And don't forget to share this with somebody that you feel could really resonate with it. And, all of the things. So Judith, what you got?
Just saying thank you for listening in. Let us know what you feel, what you think in the comments, or what other topic you want us to record an episode on. And we'll see you and hear you in the next one. Have a great day, evening, morning, wherever you are.
Bye for now.